the rule of 50, 40, and 10%. I know you might ask me, what does it entail? And before we continue, let me welcome you to this channel. My name is Isaac Githinji, and if this is your first time here, this is Aaron Isaac Githinji, a channel whereby we talk about money matters. We also talk about career growth, personal growth, and real life lessons that as young people we can learn so that we can be better, or we can be better version of ourselves in future. Okay, so kindly like the video, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification button so that you can be notified each and every time I upload such a video. And you know what? You can share also this video to our family members, to our friends, so that we can grow together in the areas of money matters. Are we together? So before we dive into this video, allow me to ask you this question. Why is it that you can work hard, all month, starting from the first day of the month to the end day of the month? For example, this January, we are remaining some few days for you to get your first salary of this year, and we end up get paid. We feel rich for about 3 or to 4 days. Then after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, when you check your account balance and you are like, who has stolen your money? You know why? Because nothing has remained, and you cannot account how you have used your salary since you don't have a budget formula. And if you do, you have not mastered it so that you can apply to it appropriately. And so today, let us learn how to budget our salary using this formula, the rule of 50, 40, and 10%. I know you have had so many formulas outside there, how to budget your money. You have watched so many videos in the YouTube, how you can budget your money. And maybe you have tried. I'm also a victim. I have tried all these formula, but they have not worked. Because some of these formula, they are there to make us, to drag ourselves behind. And some of these formulas, they were created for rich people. But as long as we are a beginner, as long as we are starting, these formulas might not help you. And I sat down and I asked myself, what can we do as beginners? Which rule can we follow? Which path can we follow? How can we budget ourselves? And through God's help, I managed to come with this formula, the rule of 50, 40, and 10%. So let's continue. And you know what? It is just easy. This will help us to manage our money and being accountable for every coin, because most people don't actually have an income problem. They have a money management problem. You know what? Earning most money does not fix bad money habit, and that is the truth. when you earn a lot of money, it doesn't matter, it doesn't mean that it will fix your bad money habits. If you master this simple rule, you will stop stressing about money, you will stop living paycheck to paycheck, and finally, you will feel like you are in control, not your bills. You know, many of us, what make us to go to work is because we have bills to pay. Me included. Nasikatai, that is the truth. But as long as we master this rule, now the bills will not control us. We will have something bigger to go or to live for more than the bills. Are we together? So let's ask ourselves, why most budgets fail? So for this budget to work, for this budget of 50, 40, and a 10% rule to work, we have to know why a lot of budget fails. You know? So let's be honest with ourselves that most budget fails because they are too unrealistic. You know, people created budgets based on who they wish they were, not who they actually are. Are you a victim? Because I was there someday. You know, they will say, I will stop eating out. I will never shop again. I will save a half of my salary, right? That's work. It might even work for about a week or two. Then life happens. You know, there's birthdays comes up. You are tired after work. You just want something nice for yourself. And boom, the budget is gone. You know, you end up forgetting all those budgets. Remember, the goal of budgeting is not to punish yourself. Never. It is to create balance. And this balance will help us, you know, to have that control. The moment you receive that salary, you will know that 50% will go to this, 40% will go to this, and 10% will go to this. So you will not be ignorant. You will not misuse your salary. Are we together? So what is 50, 40, and 10% rule? I know this is where we are eagerly to know. So this rule breaks your income into 3 simple parts. I repeat, it breaks your income into 3 simple parts. No matter how much you earn, whether it's big or small, this percentage stay the same. You know, it doesn't matter if you earn 1 million, if you earn 20,000, as long as you are going to, you know, to keep up or to follow this rule, you must be consistent that 50% will go to this, 40% will go here, and 10% will go to this area. So it doesn't matter how much you earn. So here's the breakdown. 50% will go to your needs. And when I say needs, I mean, or it means, it simply means that basic need that you cannot live without. You know? Then 40% will go to your savings and investment. Okay? and the remaining 10% will go to your wants. I know the wants, they will attract you. The wants and the needs, they always compete. And most people, they don't differentiate what are the needs and what are the wants. And we end up prioritizing or spending a lot of money to the wants instead to the needs. And we forget this part of 40, which is saving and investing. Are we together? So I will break it down so that we can understand it. And I tell you, it will be very simple, it will be very clear, and it will be very practical. Now let's break each and everyone down properly. Okay, so let's start with the 50%. That is the needs. So the needs, I call them the survival zone. These are the things, these are the things that you cannot live without. They include your rent, if you are in a rental house, okay, or your mortgage, food, transport. Most of us, we need to use transport so that we can, we can go from one place to another, or we can go to a workplace. The utilities, the electricity, the water bills, those are the needs that we cannot live without them. Are we together? And also, basic health care. If I ask you, do you have insurance? Do you have health insurance? Do you contribute to any health insurance scheme? If you don't have, just know that you are assuming that basic need. Okay? And if you are a parent, you need to consider the school fees of our children. Or if you are aiming to advance in your career or to do master's, PhD, you also need to include school fees there. That's what I call basic need. And 50% must go to your basic need. Think about it. So if you lost your income tomorrow, these are the things that you will still need to pay for. This does not mean that if you have lost your job and at life imesimama, no, you still need to eat, you still need to clothe, you still need to live. These are the basic needs that you need to cater, and you need to spend 50% of your income, okay, on them. So there is a key rule that I consider or I factor in, that your needs should never exceed 50% of your income. Let it sink in your mind. Your needs, that include your rent, your food, what you wear, school fees, utilities, transport, they should not exceed 50% of your income. And that is the rule of this plan. If they do, that's a danger sign. It is warning you. That's a warning sign. If you find yourself that your basic needs exist 50% of your income, that's a warning sign. You are in a danger zone. You are missing something. It does not mean you are failing. It means you need to adjust something. Okay? You need to tighten up somewhere. You need to live in a reality. Okay? You need to be honest with yourself. Maybe your rent is too high. Your transport costs are eating you alive. You're financing a lifestyle you cannot sustain. So you need to tighten up. And this part require true honesty. Okay? So you need to be honest with yourself. If one day you find yourself that your basic need or your survival zone is beyond or exists 50% of your income, you need just to sit down, go to your drawing board, and to know where you are going wrong. What are you missing out? So you can adjust. If you are living a house that is beyond your budget, you need to tighten up. Okay? If you are living a lifestyle that you cannot sustain, you need to tighten up. I said that we need food to eat, but some food are luxurious food. So if you cannot afford those luxurious food as a basic need, you need to tighten up. I said we need clothes to wear, right? But there are some clothes that are luxurious. So we need to tighten up. If you cannot afford a new clothes, there is mutumba, there is second-hand clothes. You need to adjust your lifestyle. Okay? If you cannot afford to use an Uber to commute daily from your house to your workplace, you need to adjust. You can use a boda, very cheap. So I simply mean that if your basic zone or survival zone exists your 50% of your income, please, you need to adjust. I mentioned that the part of school fees, it is our responsibility as long as you are a parent to cater for your children. But if you cannot afford an international fee, those international school fees, there is a government schools. At the beginning, you need to accept it that I am at this place and I cannot afford those international school. So we need to adjust. Let your saving zone, be within 50% of your income. I hope that is well understood. Because you cannot build wealth if your survival is already taking 70 or 80% of your income. I tell you the truth. There is nothing you are doing if your basic need take 70 or 80% of your income. You will never build wealth if you are such a person. Think about it. Okay? And know where to tighten up. So let's continue about the 10%. I know you might ask me, why have you go to 10% instead of 40%? There's a reason. So I'll go to 10%. 10%, I call them wants. Enjoy. These are things that help us to feel like we are alive. These are things that will help us to enjoy life. Okay? And most of us, we confuse wants and the needs. Okay? So we have to prioritize the needs, and the wants will come last. This is the part most people feel guilty about. Your wants are things that make life enjoyable. They include eating out, with friends, going happy, entertainment. If you are a young person, buying a big screen, those are wants. Shopping, buying a nice dress, nice shoes here and there, those are wants. Traveling, if your hobby is to travel to another city, another country, those are wants. You can live without them. So there are things that make us feel life enjoyable. There are things that they help us to enjoy life. Subscriptions. You can subscribe to Netflix. If you love watching movies, you can subscribe to Spotify. If you love listening to music, but if you cannot afford them, there's free YouTube. Okay, there are free apps that will help you to watch movies for free. Okay, if you love swimming, those are wants. And let your wants be 10% of your income. Okay, do not prioritize your wants. I repeat, do not prioritize your wants. And here is something very important to note, that you are allowed to enjoy life. You are allowed to enjoy your money because you have worked hard for it. Okay? Budgeting does not mean that you have to suffer. No. The problem is when wants start to compete with the needs and start to imitate or to take a place for the needs. That's now the biggest problem. Okay? That's how people get stuck. You have a good phone that can call, that can message, but you want to buy an iPhone, which you cannot afford. Think about it, guys. If you prioritize the wants, you are missing the mark. And most of the time you'll be stuck because you are going to finance the life you cannot afford it. Are we together? So the 10% rule gives you a permission to enjoy life without destroying your future. And that is the reason why I first decided to talk about the 10% before talking about the 40%. Because 10% rule will permit you to enjoy life, okay, without destroying your future. The key point is your future. A wise person always focus 10 years, 5 years from now. So spend it freely, but be consciously. Okay? I will not tell you to, not to spend your money, but spend it freely. But remember, there is tomorrow. There is a future generation waiting for you. So, let's talk about the 40%. How are we going to use that 40% of our salary? This is the most important part, and I will dwell or focus on about this video, that 40% is all about saving and investments. I call them your future self. Okay? You are building for your future self. And the most important thing is, it's not about you. It's about your generation. You are building for your generation. When we were growing up, our parents, they never had this knowledge. And that's why most of us, we suffered. But now, because This knowledge, this information is free. We have to prepare to prevent our generation to suffer, or to prevent them to go through what we went through. Okay? So this 40% is very key. Is very key to our life. This is the most important part. Okay? And also most ignored part. Because most people, they are not willing to sacrifice. They are not willing to delay the gratification, immediate gratification. They are not willing to go to that path. They ignore this part of saving and investment because it requires discipline. It requires you to say no to most of the things that you need. Okay? And nobody will come and hakuna mtu atakushikia kiboko akwambia lazima usave or invest. No. This requires you. It requires you to have that personal discipline. And that's why most people, they end up failing because they ignore it. So 40% is for, I mentioned, is for your emergency funds. Okay? When I say emergency funds, si zile emergency yenye sisi tunajiwekeaga ati nitumie 2000 in emergency. No! I will make a video about emergency funds and things that are considered as emergency. Things like sickness, those are emergency. Death, those are emergencies. But si hizi vitu tunajiwekeleaga. Okay? Your 40% should go to your long-term savings. I watched a documentary about the white people. These people, what they do is, as long as mtoto amezaliwa, their parents wanamwekeaga a certain percent of their salary. They saving, wanna save, they open an account for that child and they put money. They keep on depositing money for that child until that child attain the age of 16, ndio atapewa hiyo pesa. And that child akiwa at the age of 16 anatrainiwa that you have to save for your life. And to make it interesting, they save even for their funeral. Sisi wa Afrika tukikufa, we need kuchangisha here and there because we have left nothing. Tumeacha hospital bills to our children and our relatives. Compared to our, the opposite, the white. They do the opposite. Hautaikuta mzungu akichangisha. Why? Because they have learned these skills. They have long-term mind. So your 40% of your income should go to your long-term savings in such a way that if you die today, your children, your brothers and sisters, your relatives, hawata struggle. I'm not blaming you because of lack of money. If you don't have money, well and good. But if you have good money, and then ukikufa watu wanakuchangishia, I don't know, that's very shameful. You have to learn. It should go to long-term saving. Are we together? And then your 40% should also go to your investments. Do not just save aimlessly. Be intentional when you are saving. Why are you saving? So take small percentage of that 40% and invest it somewhere so that your money can work for you. Let me ask you something. Do you have the whole year or the whole of your life utakuwa unawakia watu kazi? Here in Kenya, people go to retire at the age of 60 or 65. And I usually say, ukiretire, will you retire with your money home? Will you retire with your salary? Sorry. If you cannot retire with your salary, then you have to invest your money now, because that is what you are going to retire with. Let your money work for you. Oh, I know you will say, oh, I'm young, don't talk about investment. My friend, it's higher time we learn it now. Because, if you start early, you need just to invest small amount and it will compound. Before you retire, you will have something, So, this 40% should go to your investments. And don't invest in things that will not compound. Okay? That's why unaonaga when people are about to retire, hapo ndio wanachukua loan, mara kujenga nyumba, mara sijui kufanya nini, because they wasted their time, they wasted their salary to do crazy things that haikuwasaidia. So we need to be cautious and know that this 40% should go to investments. Make your money work for you. At least hata ukilala, just know there is something that inakuja back. And that is the secret of success. And then this 40% should go to opportunities. The reason why the rich become rich, remain to be rich, is because when the opportunity hits, they have something. Wewe opportunity kikuja, mara umetembea, your friends wamekuambia, oh, we want to buy a plot here and we are contributing like 100,000 so that we can buy an acre and divide ourselves for ourselves, and you don't have that 100,000, that opportunity itakupita. Ama umekaka, mtu anataka kuuza kazi yake because of 1, 2 or 3 reasons, and that biashara or that business is viable, and because you don't have the cash, you don't have the saving, you can just take a small percentage of it and pay. That opportunity nakupita. For instance, now as we are talking now, go do your research. Last month mbuzi zilikuwa zinatoka. I'm talking about the real life lessons here, I'm telling you. Last month, which was on December, mbuzi zilikuwa zinatoka 12,000, 15,000. Currently it is January. Go to Garissa, go to where they are selling the same goats. They are selling not more than 5,000. Because you don't have that money, you cannot buy them and rear for some few months, so that you can sell them when the demand is high. So your 40% should go, it should be for the opportunities. Okay? The same people who are selling that gold for 5,000 or 3,000, ikifika Ramadhani or Eid Fitri, you will sell for them not less than 10 or 12,000. And because you don't have money, utafanya nini? That opportunities imekupita. So your 40% should be set aside for such kind of opportunities. Okay? And that's why I told you I will dwell on this 40% area, because it matters a lot. Are we together? So your 40% should go to emergency funds, long-term savings, investments, and opportunities. This money is not for emergencies you created. It's for building security. I told you. Since, emergency, okay, it depends how you can define emergencies. But kuna emergencies zingine ni sisi tunajitakiaga. Aizo nitumia 5k ni emergency. Emergency ya nini? Sijui nimeona katroza fulani. My friend, that's not emergency. So this money, or this 40%, should build security for ourselves, for our life. So even if your income is small, start with 40%. I know there are so many formulas there. They will tell you start with 10%. It will not work. I'm telling you the truth. Before you see a difference, it will take a long time for your 10% to compound. And that's why I decided that we have to save 40%, because it will take short time of period for you to see a difference. Okay? So it doesn't matter how much you earn. Make sure that you are saving 40%. Be intentional. Because consistency beats any amount. And that is for free. Your future self is depending on the habits you are building today. You see, today, your future self, it is watching and it is listening to what you are doing today. So if you are going to waste yourself today, just know there is higher probability that you are going to suffer in future. And it will be very shameful that you are suffering, you, and then your children will suffer. That's very shameful. In our age, the current age, tunasema wazazi wetu wakifanya kitu fulani, wengine wakifanya kitu fulani, wetu walikuwa wanafanya nini? Those are so many questions tunajiulizaga, right? That wengine wakigrab mashamba, wetu walikuwa wanafanya nini? Remember, hiyo swali itakuja back to you. Your sons and daughters one day, they might ask you. Back then utakuwa wewe ndo mzazi. Wengine wakijenga, wengine wakifanya hivi, wengine wakiinvest. Wewe ulikuwa unafanya nini? So, your future self is depending on your habits, and is watching on what you are doing today. So, let us apply. How can we apply this rule in real life? So let us make it practical and say that if you are earning 100,000, for example, I know utaanza kuniambia, Aizo, I'm not earning that money. I'm just giving you an example. Some people earn more than that. Some earns less than that, right? I'm just giving you an example. So if you are earning 100,000, 50% equals to 50,000 must go to your needs. So if your needs exceed 50,000, just know you are doing something wrong. So 50,000 will go to your needs. It will go paying rents, school fees, clothes, transport, etc. 50%, that is 50,000. Then 40,000, it will go for your saving and investment. You must be intentional. And that's why I told you it requires discipline. Imagine you are taking, out of 100, you are taking 40,000. You invest, you save. Na si ati hatuseme una matumizi ya pesa, uko nayo, but you are denying yourself for your future. And then the remaining 10%, that is 10,000, will go to your wants. If you must go and for swimming or out sometime, go take your family for a dinner somewhere, remember you have 10,000 for that. Okay? And I usually say that if you must go for vacation in Dubai and so on, why can't you start saving this 10,000 for 10 months? That will be 100,000. I am sure 100,000 is enough for you and your family to enjoy. Most of us, we spend a lot of money, tunachukua deni when it comes to December season. Why? Because we did not plan. And this is the right time to do so. And this is the right time to plan for December. Take that 10,000 as 10%. Save it for 10 months. You will have yourself 100,000 that will help you to take your family, go for dinner, go for this party, travel, and so on. It will be enough. Okay? So, that it will work even if you are earning 100,000. So, let us go down and say if you are earning 30,000, 15,000 will go to your needs because that is 50% of your income. So, 15,000 will go for your needs. You pay rents, buy clothes here and there, food, salary, and so not salary, sorry, school fees and so on. So 15,000 will be your basic need. Then 12,000, that will be 40%, must go for savings and investment. You must do that. And the remaining 3,000, that is 10%, it must go for wants. Now, hapa ndo utachapa raha nayo. 3,000, use it to enjoy yourself, okay? And if you do this, I am sure you are going to see different. You are going to see results, okay? So, let us not have excuses. Let us learn to be disciplined. The goal is progressing, not perfection. Okay? The goal of our life is to progress daily. We are not aiming to be perfect because no one is perfect. Just aim to progress, to make a difference each and every day. Okay? So that is the goal. And I ask myself, what are the common mistakes that we have to avoid for us to see the effect of this rule? Okay? These are the common mistakes that we must avoid for us to see a difference. Number one of the mistake is saving what's remain. And I know this is the habit of most of us, that we, instead of prioritizing the saving, we end up saving what remains. And I'm telling you, and I guarantee you for sure, nothing will remain. So you end up not saving. Mistake number 2, that ignoring lifestyle inflation. As young people, we want to upgrade the life before we have built the system that can support that lifestyle we want. As income goes up, spending also goes up. Never forget that. And a wise person, or these wealthy people, they have understand this hack. And when the income goes, instead of them spending a lot of money, they are now reducing their spending. They are now reducing their spending. And you think, for example, I want you to do your research. Wealthy people, they don't own cars. These cars, hizi magari mnaonaga wakitembea nazo, these fancy cars. Wealthy people, most of them, they don't own those cars. They just rent them, because they have understood that the value of this car, as long as umeitoa kwa show, imetoka kwa show, the value depreciate. And because they have learned that, they end up renting instead of buying the car. I want you to do that research. So instead of them uplifting their lifestyle, they are reducing their expenses when the income goes up. And they are now focusing on investing and saving a lot. And that is the real hack. Mistake number 3, comparing yourself with others. I want to tell you that you should run your own race. Your life is different. So run your own race. Stop comparing. Comparison will kill your motivation. Comparison will kill your discipline. So run your own race. Live your own life. Even the Bible says, mind your own business. If your colleague is saving 70,000 and you, on the other hand, you can only manage to save 30,000, please do not compare yourself with that colleague. Your life is different. If your colleagues, their wants is 30,000 and you can only afford to enjoy life with only 2,000, do not compare yourself. Learn your own race. If your colleague, they have sit down and do some, wamepiga hesabu, wakaona that I can afford to buy a new iPhone 17 Pro Max. That is the wants. Na wewe unataka kushindana na yeye. My friend, run your own race. Stop comparing yourself. So if you are going to avoid this common mistake, and they are very simple, okay, we are going to see changes. We are going to appreciate this rule. Are we together? If you are going to prioritize your saving, that 40%, if you are going to focus on your life, if you are going to reduce life inflation, I am 100% you are going to appreciate this rule of 50, 40, and 10%. That's 100% guarantee. So, as I'm winding up, I want you to remember that money does not change who you are. It reveals your real habit. It magnifies who you are. Sawa sawa. So let us learn to apply this rule of 50, 40, and 10%, sorry. And you are going to appreciate it. And at the end of this year, you will have something to be proud of. So let us master this rule. Let us apply it. Let us understand it. That each and every time you are going to receive your salary, just know automatically 50% will go to my survival needs, that is basic need. Then 40% must go to your savings and investing. Then 10% you will set aside for your wants. And I tell you, for real, you are going to appreciate yourself before the end of this year. So guys, let us subscribe to this channel, like the video, share this video to as many as you can, so that we can grow together. And adios guys.